Hello, and thank you for tuning in. You are tuned in to The Encourager, and my name is Nehru. Thank you so much. I hope you're doing well today, wherever you find yourself as you tune in. And hopefully you are tapped in, turned on, turned up, right? Not in a physical sense. There's nothing wrong with that from time to time. But I'm speaking more from a spiritual sense, right? And so I want to talk about today. Thank you, first of all, subscribers. We're up to 24, and I'm thankful for each and every one of you. Even if you are a troller, I thank you for your attention, because I believe that seeds are sown regardless of the recognition. So the individual doesn't have to acknowledge that truth is being spoken. Truth is truth, right? Res ipsa loquitur. Truth does not require any backing, any substantiation. It just is. You don't have to remember the truth. You have to remember lies. Remember that, law enforcement, intuitive law enforcement people. You don't have to remember truth. You have to remember lies. Right? And I know they go through all kind of psychological classes, like police officers, interrogators, investigators. They go through special training for interrogations and things. But the truth doesn't need to be remembered, okay? Because the truth just is, okay? And there are a lot of people who are finding that out. The truth just is. And they're finding out what is truth and what isn't. And oftentimes, the truth is weirder than fiction. Okay? Often. So I want to talk about honoring our ancestors. Okay? And your ancestors are those you've known in a past lifetime, whether you have remembrance of them or not. And they are also those who you have met in the current lifetime. Okay? And so if someone reads this or listens to this 10 years from now, whoever, if they're the ancestor, they may not even have the grandchild yet today or what have you, right? But you have a son or your daughter, and even if you do not have kids, I know plenty of faithful people who I've met along the journey who did not have physical kids, and they were very strong, very, very much aware of who they are in the earth, at least to their understanding, to as much as they could at that time that I was communicating with them. So, yeah, right? But honoring your ancestors. So for me, right? So for me, my ancestors, so I'm an Egyptian shamanic bloodline. That is where I come from. And with that Egyptian shamanic bloodline, I'm closely related to Sekhmet and Mayat. Ptah is extremely closely related to me. I'll say that. Extremely closely related to Ptah. Okay? And so, yeah. So honoring your ancestors, so that goes way back, obviously, right? But even coming forward, so I was also, and this is going, so let me mention this as well. So I was also a part of the Greco-Roman era. I did have a lifetime back then. And then again in the 1860s, somewhere around there, right? And I was a philosopher back then and whatever, yeah, in that era, right? But honoring your ancestors, and those of you who do not believe, again, I always feel like I have to say it, but those who do not believe in reincarnation, or those who do not believe in multiple lifetimes, or lifetime jumping, or, right, there are pictures that depict objects, technologically advanced objects, people using them, and they're in the picture from 1920, 1840, right? So it is very much possible. You have far more power, and you are far more powerful than you believe and than you know. Okay? Yeshua said he came here to show us who we really truly can be, and he's an ascended master, Jesus is, okay, along with several others. Okay? The church will never tell you that Jesus Christ is an ascended master. Why? Because they don't want you to know what an ascended master is, because they're afraid you'll try to get there. Be more like Jesus, less like your preacher. Be more like Jesus, less like your preacher. Be more like Jesus, less like your minister. Right? So your minister probably doesn't even believe that if in the moment and they needed to, that they could even turn water to wine. They probably don't even believe it. They're doubters. They're Peters. Yep, they're Thomases. The bad kind, the doubting kind. Right? Yep. I remember I changed my Facebook name at one point in time on Facebook to Non-Doubting Thomas. Yep, that's me. But ancestors. So in this lifetime, so I've met my great-grandparents on Judy's side, whose name is, what I called them was Paw and Grandma. That was their names. And they all lived, it was funny because they all lived in Lockport. Both, if it's true, again, there are things that are going to be coming out. I've always felt disassociated from the family entirety, and that's on both sides. Right? I've always felt that. So I've always had a suspicion about me not belonging to that family. Okay? So there's a possibility, strong, that after the investigation that is currently going on, that is going to be exposed that I was taken at some time. I asked Judy at one point, I asked her, why don't you have any baby pictures of me? She gave me some excuse. They're at an aunt's house or something. So either she had me and he's not the sperm donor, or she did not give birth to me. And neither one of them are my parents. We'll see, right? But aside from all of that, right? Because that's all the karmic stuff that my ancestors, spiritual ancestors, angels, Most High, they're all taking care of that stuff right now. I'm hidden away from the enemy. So, yeah. And the enemy can't get to me because Most High won't allow it. So honoring your ancestors. I remember when I was 11. So let me get back to the relatives. Those that I've met that I grew up believing were my ancestors. Okay, so let me say that. Okay. So, yeah, so there was grandma, there was grandpa. Then I met my great-grandmother also. Another great-grandmother. So my mother's mother. And I met my mother's father's parents. Right, and of course I met both of my grandparents. On Kevin's side, I've met grandparents, great-grandmother on mother's side from India. That's where Nehru comes from. That's why I have the name. She's from India. She's a brown skin, salt and pepper, straight hair that went down to her butt. Right? She's Indian, not American Indian, not Cherokee, not Blackfoot, no. She's from India. Okay. And who else? And her name is we called her Sugarfoot. Her first name is Beatrice. And then who else? Oh, and then on Kevin's side, I've met his father's mother. So I've met my great-grandmother on his side as well. She lived in New Orleans all of her life, I believe, if not the majority of it for sure. And she lived well into her 90s. He lived to be 85. I don't know how. I know my grandmother, his grandmother, passed in 2008. But I've not been in communication with them, and he wouldn't tell them where I was. And the women that he was with, he's a polygamist, right? For 30-something years, had 7 to 11 women at any given time. They all knew each other, all not always lived in the same house, but yeah, they all knew each other, all had orgies and whatever other stuff they decided to do. Cat licks, I don't know. What do women on women do? So anyway, and he would punish them with those things, by the way. He was a sick man, sick man. So, one of the best, probably the best childhood traveling memory I have is going with my grandfather. His name is Berlin. Going with him, taking a train trip on Amtrak train at the age of 11. Again, key number. We're both born in the 11th month of the year. He's 11/3. I'm 11/29. That's 27 days apart. He's a 3, right? 29 is an 11, right? And synchronicities all over the damn place. And all over my life. And it's always been that way. And it's all over your life. But we have to be awakened to these things. We have to be alert and aware enough to recognize when they show up in our lives, right? Because there's been times when I've written things down, but because I wasn't spiritually awakened, it didn't register, so I missed the moment. But then I go back and I'm like, wow, what? I wrote that down 2 months, whatever, right? It was like, I've been wrestling with this for, I don't know, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. And it's right here. I wrote it down, so I'm hearing. I'm just not listening. So I had to change that. Okay? So one of the best trips was this Amtrak train trip with Berlin from Chicago to Louisiana, to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to meet his eldest son, John, who was married and had a daughter, and they were adults back basically when I met them. I think the son and daughter were. One of them was handicapped, and she was like in her mid-30s at that time, and I don't know if she had multiple sclerosis. Yeah, it might have been MS. I'm not sure, but I know when I met her, she was like 33, 35, and she was a very small woman, and she was in, was cared for by her parents, but she was an adult in her wheelchair, right? And so I want to say it was MS, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, I loved every second of that trip. One of the best memories. And we went to New Orleans, and I'm still searching for gumbo that tastes that good that my great-grandmother made on my grandfather's mother, right? That is, I was 11, and I seriously would have dived into the pot if she would have let me. And I remember that today. I remember her house. I remember what it looks like. I remember that it was fenced in. I remember the street. I remember, and I was only there for a couple of days. Right? But it was such a treasured moment to be with him, okay, who was this this really big, rarely speaking, intimidating 6'2" kind of man, right? He very rarely spoke, and when he spoke, it was more like a rumble. So everyone was kind of scared of him, but I loved him, and I loved the trip, and I guess the only time you would be I guess the only time that would kind of scare you, I guess, is if you're kind of up to no good, really. I don't know. But I wasn't afraid of him. I never was. He was always, I don't know. I always wanted to talk to him. Just wanted to hear what he learned. And that's how I am today. I'd much rather talk to someone who's 90 than talk to someone who's 10. Because someone who's 10 should probably do a little more listening. Okay, and I have a tremendous heart for the kids. Again, it's nothing against kids, obviously, right? But the wisdom that is ahead of me, I would like to learn about. And again, then I can turn around and I could pass that on to my 10-year-old, my 12-year-old, my 15-year-old, right? So look forward, right? And look back, not to go back, but to learn who you are. So on that trip, we went to KFC. We had KFC. We picked up KFC before we got on the train in Chicago. And, excuse me a second. Let me take my hoodie off because it's getting warm. And so we picked up this bucket of chicken and probably sides too, I don't know. And we got on a train, and I was really expecting to sit in a seat for like, I don't even know how long that trip took. The ride from Chicago to Baton Rouge, I don't know. But I was expecting to be like on soldier duty, like total line, sit still, stand at attention, sit at attention, right? I was expecting that. But something different happened. Okay? That bucket of KFC chicken that him and I shared on that trip is today the best bucket of chicken, or best chicken I've ever had. And I'm 49 years old today. So that was 38 years ago. 38's important, right? Because that's an 11. You can't get away from it. You can't get away from it. So, yeah, loved that trip. I love him. Whatever faults or whatever he did, again, he taught the sperm donor witchcraft. I've forgiven him for that. I'm certain he probably was teaching him that to protect himself and not to use it in order to steal, kill, and destroy, but that's what he chose to do. Again, we all have free will. God the Father can come down and say, I want you to die on the cross for the sins of the world. But if you don't choose to do that, then that's okay. You have free will. He gave us free will because he loves a volunteer. Okay? He doesn't want robots. Right? And so with that, today, I have not, since being an adult, and I mentioned this today actually, in which maybe it kind of stirred something in me to honor them today. And I honor my ancestors all the time. I get flowers. They love yellow, my ancestors. So maybe your ancestors are showing you kind of what colors and things like that they like. When you become spiritually awakened, you start smelling smells and things that let you know kind of like what's going on, and right. So you might be sitting there and catch a fragrance of, I don't know, someone who's no longer here. They're with you at that time. That's what that is. I can't tell you how many times I've been in their house physically, right? The house that they lived at. And from time to time, since both of them have passed, he passed in 96 at the age of 85. She passed in 2008. The grandmother, his wife, they were married for 48 years. She passed in 2008. And I want to say, yeah, they were married for 48 years. Yeah, 48 years. And she passed in 2008. Her name is Odessa. Okay. And so today I went to the store and I thought, I'm going to get some chicken and honor them and love them, because he knows that was my favorite childhood trip. Right? I've expressed that a number of times to him since he's passed. I expressed it to him after he passed. I believe I was the last one to give him a haircut. He passed. I was stationed at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, and I came home. The woman I was married to at the time was pregnant with, again, who I assume is our daughter. She was promiscuous. I don't know why I was picking those women, because I didn't see my worth. If you wonder why do I keep picking scumbags? You don't know your worth yet. You don't understand who you are. You don't understand who you are. That's why. And I didn't understand who I was. I didn't value myself. I thought I had to bend over, bend back, bend forward, left, right, upside down, and everything else. Give the shirt off my back and me stand outside freezing in order for me to have a friend. That's not true. You don't need those kind of friends. Okay? Or to be accepted. You don't need that kind of acceptance. You need rejection from those people. Rejection. And when they do reject you, happily walk away. Strong cutoff game. Strong cutoff game. Strong cutoff game. You got to have it. Right? So I bought chicken today. Fried chicken. Which again, historically has not been something that I eat on a regular basis because I feel like I had it so much as a kid because it's such a cheap thing to get. So back then, I don't know what a pack of chicken cost in 1982 when I was 8. I don't know what it cost, or 7 for most of the year because my birthday's in November. So, yeah. I don't know what that cost back then, but I know that Judy, was on welfare most of the time. She worked from time to time, but I believe for the most part it was inconsistent only because we were so young, and I was the eldest, and I think maybe that weighed on her. Again, she suffered from depression back then as well. I believe she's healed from that today. But anyway, honoring your ancestors. So if you know that your grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, you've heard stories, you have pictures, you have these things, I encourage you to use those mementos and things to honor your ancestors, right? Have a meal, right? Set plates out. When my brother Matthew passed on 8/4, that was a confirmation burp, on 8/4, because I haven't eaten anything today. Typically I don't eat until the afternoon. And I don't know why that is. Breakfast is my favorite favorite meal of the day. Breakfast foods are my favorite foods of the day, generally. And so I could eat breakfast for dinner. I love that. Yeah, I generally don't eat until after 12 o'clock. And I'm up really early. Sometimes if I'm awakened by my angels or Most High at 3 something, I'm up for that many hours, well until 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon before I eat something. So my body's kind of on an automatic what is it called? Automatic intermittent fasting schedule. It's kind of like just on that, right? And so really by 8 o'clock I'm done eating anyway, typically, unless it's something sweet, unless it's some dessert or cake or something. I have a bad, well, not bad. I like pastries, so I'm thankful I don't look like it. And so I honor my mother, whoever that is. Those who raised me, I honor them. They didn't tell me the truth. There was things they could have told me. It's okay. I honor them too. I honor my grandparents, Berlin, Odessa, Sugarfoot, my great-grandmother. I honor Mildred. I honor David Charles. I honor Pawpaw. I honor Grandma. I honor Emily. I honor Barbara. I honor Berlin Jr. And I honor my brother Matthew, who this lifetime he was a younger brother, 13 months younger than I am. However, when he passed in 2000, on 8/4 of 2021, I went, maybe a month or two later, I went to a restaurant and I ordered two separate orders, 2 separate drinks, everything, ordered 2, right? And I sat there and I ordered that food for him, and I just sat there, talked to him, had that meal. And I told the waitress, I'm ordering a meal for 2. My brother just passed, and so I'm just spending time with him today, and this is what he wanted. And that's what I told her. So, honor those who are physically no longer here because they are spiritually aware. Honor those who are no longer physically here because they are spiritually aware. Regardless of where you think they went. If they are a loved one, honor them. Regardless of where you think their end result is. Regardless of that. Because the chances are they're not done here. especially if it was something tragic like his. So he was incarcerated. That death, they said, was a self-unaliving. That's a lie. There's something going on there, right? That's bullshit. He would not have done that. Not because I'm somebody who doesn't believe someone can do that. People do that all the time. I have my eldest cousin did suicide, right? And self-unaliving, and an uncle, my youngest uncle, did self-unaliving. Over women, both of them. Over women. You want to talk about a curse that's on the family that needs to be broken? There's one. There's one. There's one. The false twin flame and her sorry-ass karmic transvestite born male trying to be a fucking vagina boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you want to call it. That individual and their jealousy and all their fucking tricks, no match. No match. And your ancestors help you with these battles. Okay? So treat your ancestors well. Honor your ancestors, right? And this is why we are told to honor your mother and father. I bet the original scripture says ancestors. I bet the original wording says ancestors. But man doesn't want you to know about your true history, so they put your parents in there. But it's really ancestors. There's a download. It's really ancestors. Honor your ancestors, because that includes your parents in whatever lifetime. This one, past ones, future ones, because you don't have the same parents each lifetime. Okay? You don't even have the same skin color every lifetime. You have the same purpose every lifetime, because that's a spiritual contract. That is the only thing that never changes. Who gives birth to you changes with each lifetime, or it could. Your siblings, each lifetime, they could change. Right? So, let's honor our ancestors and thank them for what they do for us in the ethers and handle things that we on the physical can't see, even if we are aware of them. Okay? And beyond your ancestors, it's honoring your spiritual ancestors. So this means Most High. This means Yeshua. This means the Ascended Master, Saint Germain, Mother Mary. This means honoring Buddha. This means, you don't have to get all funny and weird, because again, it's one. If we got rid of religion, and humans stop trying to control man and let man live the life that they were called to live, it would be a much better place. Just completely demolish religion. All of it. Non-denominational, Catholic, Mormon, LDS, whatever. Christianity, just scrap it. Scrap it. And just say, if you're not in a relationship with Most High, you're not a believer. We're not living by a book. You can see by the fruit on someone's tree. You can see based on their actions and their intentions. So someone could come to you and want to date you, right? Come in looking all cute and pretty. Come in looking all handsome and hot. But then, give it a couple of months. Woo, confirmation, bark. Hear it, hear it, hear it, hear it, hear it. It was silent until I said that. Give it a couple of months. The serpent, if there is one, will rear their ugly head. So, again, honor your ancestors so that they can protect you, okay? And you guys can work as a team. Okay, I had to learn that. Work as a team. Okay? Because it's spiritual and natural. That's how heaven and earth comes together. We only have a limited time in these suits. Let's make it count. Thank you so much. You've been tuned in to The Encourager. My name is Nehru. And always be of encouragement and enlightenment. And do the self-love work that's going to help heal those childhood wounds, adult wounds, past life wounds, whatever. Because you're back here for a reason. And the reason is most likely not to get a job, go to college, stay in debt, raise kids, retire and die. That's not your purpose here. 100% guaranteed, baby. Okay? So, thank you so much again, and tune in next time.